couple of questions also.
Okay.
So,
all right, looks like we're live.
can you see the stream?
It says webinar is now streaming live on Facebook.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Let me take a look.
We're going live. It says webinar is streaming. We should be good to go.
Okay.
All right, let's get started then.
Cool.
All right, 3, 2, 1, and go. Hey guys, thanks everybody once again for joining us here on Friday afternoon on 24 Floors Up. And once again, a fantastic guest for you today. This young man is a trainer, an author, best-selling author, a keynote speaker. He's also the co-host of one of the most popular podcasts on iTunes, specifically for SEO. And, you know, we're all about digital transformation. And he's also the interim COO of the company, an internet company. And this is Matt Bertram. And Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to talking to you more in detail.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So real quickly, we're going to just go around the room, introduce the sponsors, and we're going to turn the mic over to you, Matt. Our first sponsor is Digital Selling Conference, and representing Digital Selling Conference is Patrick Weir. Patrick, if you just tell us a little bit about the conference, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. And I'm really excited to have Matt on today because some of the things that he is definitely an expert on is topics that we discuss or our thought leaders will and our speakers will be talking about at our conference coming up next year. It's the Digital Selling Conference, and essentially what it is, it's a place for sales professionals, marketing professionals, entrepreneurs to come to network with vendors who can help them leverage their sales enablement and their growth of their business, utilizing various digital platforms. And it's a great educational and network experience that we're bringing to the Houston area next year.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. And our next sponsor is Unbiased Data with Gary Dennis. And Gary, if you would tell us a little bit about Unbiased Data, please.
Sure. We're focused on sales. And the way we go about that is we help clients increase their revenue through market research and data analytics. So we help them uncover those hidden business problems that are sometimes hidden because of the social side of strategy. And once we uncover those problems, we provide a business recommendation. And that could involve digital marketing. It could involve other forms of digital transformation or technology. But that's our focus.
All right, thank you, Gary. And the final sponsor is dMann Training Technologies, and representing dMann is myself, Jerry Moneycorot. And what we do is we're a sales training and marketing consulting company with a focus on healthcare, and our current focus on training is digital selling. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Matt. Matt, once again, thank you for joining us. And I know I kind of introduced you a little bit, but if you could tell us a little bit about yourself from your, let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're a market delivery company. So I do definitely do consulting. We do consulting sessions, but we really provide the legwork to the strategies that what y'all would come up with, right? So eWeb Results has been around since 1999. It's a top internet marketing agency in Houston. It's a full service firm. So we do everything from email marketing, right? So we can talk about some of the email strategies and follow up opportunities with automation and bots. Bots is a really big trend in 2018. To geofencing, right? We could put a circle around this location, hit everybody with ads. We're really known as an SEO and web design company. We started off as eWeb Style. We're now eWeb Results. My background, I've been in the, digital selling space for 10 plus years, top podcasts in iTunes. We've been doing that for about 9 years.
And what's the name of the podcast, please?
The Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. if you go to bestseopodcast.com, that will give you a link to our website, and there's an option there, and you can see we're on all the major, we're syndicated out to all the major podcast locations. And then, you know, I just recently came out with a book called Build Your Brand Mania, How to Transform Yourself into an Authoritative Brand.
And it's an Amazon bestseller, right?
Yeah, no, that's an Amazon bestseller. I've been getting really, really good feedback on that book. Really, I just kind of talk a little bit about my experience and what led me to where we are today, as well as all the different things I've learned along the way, and used a lot of different examples from clients we've worked with, things that we've done in campaigns, as well as a lot of, I'm an avid reader. So I typically was reading about a book a week till I recently had a son. So so that's kind of stopped that for a minute, but I really like to acquire knowledge. And so I put everything together that I had when I was talking to people, like, hey, how do you build a brand online? So I was like, hey, here's a book, here's everything I know about it. Yeah. And that seems to work out pretty well. So I guess what I do on a daily basis is I work with clients as a digital strategist to figure out what they're looking to do, and then implement those aspects in their business. So really anybody that trades on their name. So a lawyer, doctor, plastic surgeon, plumber, multi-level marketer, if you're trading on your name or you're building a brand online, really that's what our agency excels in, and getting you visibility and attracting new customers. So
awesome. You know, we were just chatting earlier a little bit, but the fact that you've been in this whole space of digital transformation for so long, that's just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's almost like you're one of the pioneers in that arena. Now, we always talk about that, and people are talking about that over and over again. But the fact is, you've seen that journey. Things have changed dramatically over the past 10 years. You said you've been in this space for about 10 years now. But the way I was just talking to somebody, I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about the 10 years ago, it was a big deal to have one of those Razor flip phones. Think about that. It was a flip phone was like major technology just 10 years ago. And now you can't think of going anywhere without a smartphone. So how would you say things have changed, 10 years ago versus 5 years ago versus just 2 years ago till now?
Yeah, well, so the flip phone, from people that I've talked to, really when the flip phone came out, that was actually the Star Trek communicator. Okay, so like if you talk about technology and what we were shooting for as pioneers, there was the Dick Tracy watch, is the iPhone watch.
Yes.
And the Motorola flip phone was the was the Star Trek communicator, right? And I've really seen this journey. The internet's young, right? The internet's only like 20 years old. My mom was one of the
adolescents. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, so we don't know where it's going to go, what's going to happen, the different twists and turns with the Bitcoin technology and all that sort of thing. Virtual reality, augmented reality, starting to really make some inroads in how people are behaving online, and the data analytics aspect of it is really, really interesting and amazing. My mom really was the one that pulled me into this industry. She was one of the first people at Microsoft. And so I really saw the whole ride. And in the 90s, when the dot-com boom crashed, everybody said, oh, everybody's going to walk away from technology. People are saying that today with Facebook, right? Like, delete your Facebook account.
Yes.
Doubtful. Okay. Doubtful. It's going to be something else. Something's going to take its place. But everything has just gotten faster, and maybe you're utilizing a different platform to do things that you used to do already. So humans haven't changed, the adaptation. Now, the new generation of people that are growing up with phones, okay, like kids that are growing up now, they're going to use technology completely different. But I mean, Facebook came out when I was in college, okay? It takes human beings about 20 years to totally kind of like understand like the speed at which things are changing. So really the older generations, the baby boomers, are having the toughest time. and then it kind of works its way back. But the millennials and people that have grown up with the internet are using the internet in different ways. But if you really think about it, everything's still the same. Selling, you and I are talking, we're all talking, actually, we're in a group meeting here, but we're not in the same location. But business is still going to transact face to face. You know what I mean? Unless you're doing e-commerce or something like that. If we're talking about digital selling or really using automation to leverage what you do, that's really all it is doing, is leveraging what you're trying to accomplish, increase your touch points, increase the outreach back to the customers or prospects. But we're just doing it in a different way, but we're still doing the same thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, we still watch the news, right? We still watch the news or get news, but we get it from our phone. We get it from different platforms. We get it from different social media, right. But we're still getting news. Maybe we're not watching on the big box at night, right? And we want to bypass the ads or what have you.
Sure.
But we're still watching news. Everybody's still looking at news. People are still engaging with people. I would make the argument that kids today are actually more social than kids, maybe 20 years ago that were playing in a room, because they're interacting with so many more people on such a level that they're so connected. Like, I mean, they're really connected, but they're connected through their phone.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I think that ties into the whole relationship side of things. And it seems like that's the big argument, is do you really build a strong relationship, or is it all kind of superficial? Of course, there's conversations around millennials, and I'm a borderline millennial myself, or
he would like to think that.
Yeah, I'm only 28. No, but like there's that viral video going around online. What's the guy, Simon? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Simon Sinek or
Simon Sinek. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
this guy.
Well, he's got a viral interview going around, and he's talking about. I mean, it's almost like social media and stuff doesn't really build relationships at all. And they may even hurt relationships. But if y'all haven't seen the video.
No, I mean, I'll take the other side of that. I don't know exactly what he's saying, but I've heard that argument a number of times, that social media does hurt relationships. I think that if you're so engaged in what's going on your phone, and you're sitting across the table from somebody live and you're not talking to them, that could hurt that closeness that you would feel with that person or the engagement there. But if you talk about social media overall, Facebook's just a big networking event, right? I mean, and how people interact online, I think, could reflect how they operate in person. So say you go to a networking event, a Houston Young Professionals networking event, and you're the guy that goes out and you hand a card to like every person, right? And you're like, before they even say anything, and then you leave or whatever, and you haven't produced any value, you haven't connected with them in any way, you haven't engaged. Like, what is that going to result in? That's going to result in very, very few people, unless they absolutely need what you want, are going to contact you, but people are going to be turned off by that.
Right.
That's the same way if you're talking to people on Twitter or you're talking to people online. How do people want to be engaged? What's most important to people? Typically, it's them, right? So you want to talk in terms of them. You want to find out what they're looking for, what their needs are, produce some kind of value, and then look for that reciprocation, right? And so I think that you're having to be more, in today's world, more socially astute than you had to be in the past, because more people are going to know about it. But I think people that do well in person, if they understand the technology and the tools, will do well online, because it's still a human interaction when you're engaging with people. I believe the internet's a one-on-one sales tool or strategy or communication network. And then you can also communicate with people that are like-minded, right? So in a geographic area, you might not be able to find like-minded people, and your network might span across the globe to find those people that are really interested in whatever topic you are, and they kind of organize into social groups on LinkedIn or private Facebook groups or chats and forums and that sort of thing. So I mean, I can see what it's saying. I think it's just kind of like maybe use the analogy of a gun or something. Like, guns don't kill people, like people kill people. I mean, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but I think it's the same here. Is technology and the different social platforms are just a tool. They're not like what's bad. Now,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
how you
right.
use it, basically.
right. I mean, it's like when TV first came out, people are like, okay, this is taking away from the family because you're not eating dinner together as family anymore. But
But
it's
you're
not
still
necessarily-
together as a family.
right. Yes. Yeah.
oh, well, okay, so you're together. Well, what if your family's around the world? Like, right? So a lot of people here in Houston have come from all across the world for oil or you know, what are all these different roles? Well, I would argue that talking to someone online, or I know a lot of families that will watch a TV show together and won't be in the
Right.
same location, and then they'll like talk about it, and so they feel engaged in the same activity. You know, I think it can bring people together, but also I think it can divide people if everybody's just, if I'm sitting here while we're talking just on my phone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now I did read a book out there recently, was habit forming products, and it was talking about the variable reward system and really how Facebook kind of sucks you in and sucks your time away, right? And how you're being less productive. And I also see in a lot of analytical data, when I'm seeing leads come in for clients, it really picks up around lunchtime towards the end of the week, and people are not doing what they need to be doing potentially. So I think that again, I think it's a tool. I think it's a platform, but it's really, in my opinion, all about how you use it. And if you're using it effectively, it's a benefit. If you're not, it's a hindrance.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that brings up another on that same note. So I think all of us here would agree that if you can get face to face with somebody, that surpasses everything, right? But
Sure.
the question is time, efficiency, that sort of thing. So at what point in the sales process do you say, you know what? I'm not going to use webinar. I'm not going to use phone. I'm not going to use social media. I'm going to get in the car, drive an hour through traffic, sit in a meeting for an hour, drive back, or get on an airplane or whatever. What are the scenarios in your mind in a B2B environment to where you say, okay, that's what we got to do?
Okay, so that's a really interesting topic, and I can tell you that our services are white labeled a lot of time by some of these larger PR agencies because they kind of outsource the digital marketing aspect of it. I was in a meeting with, you know, a multi-billion-dollar, or I don't know exactly how big they were, but they're a big company that does IT infrastructure and kind of everything for clients. They won't deal with clients that are under $1 million, $2 million a year. Okay, so I'm in this meeting, and it's still the old school sales way, right? I really didn't want to go to the meeting, and actually my partner got pulled into the meeting too, and we were like, hey, we feel like we should go, right? And so we drove across town. We sat down for a lunch, spent money. You know, it wasn't our money, but like a bunch of money was spent for a lunch. There was a bunch of talking involved. The business was done in the last kind of 2 minutes. Towards the end, it was all kind of pleasantries. And then no real actionable steps were made on the behalf of that meeting.
Yeah.
And I actually, as we were walking out, the guy that invited me, I said, hey, you know, I really appreciate you pulling into this meeting. I think that there's a lot of opportunity here. And I can tell you though, this was the first lunch meeting that I've taken in a while where I haven't been paid to come to it. And I probably won't come to another one. Okay.
So there was no agenda set out for you, and you felt like there was no value that presented to you, but you still went anyways.
Well, you know, like, I mean, when the opportunity is so big, right? You get pulled in that direction, and sometimes you don't follow, you know, what your guidelines are or best practices that you have. Our typical process is someone finds us online some way, and we can talk about that in a little bit. The internet, the inbound marketing aspect of it. Set up a consultation. And I can tell you also recently, I met with a lawyer that was a referral from a personal friend that they were like, hey, this guy's ready to go. You know, you just got to meet with him, you know. And I said, I really want to do a 15-minute call to kind of understand what's going on. I really don't have a lot of time. And again, like, hey, just come to this meeting. So I came to this meeting, we sat down, and I actually had to end the meeting at like an hour. Okay. And, you know, I'm now having to put the guy that I've met back into my process to move him through the funnel. And I've closed multiple deals in the time that I've met him, and we haven't even had the initial meeting yet. The sales cycle is moving so quickly online. Okay, so I have clients all across the globe. I do a lot of business in North America. My sales cycle for, I'm talking 25 to $100,000 deals, are actually about 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, 2 to 3 weeks for those deal cycles. And so we've come up with a process that moves people through. If you talk about digital selling, you talk about
funnel.
the funnel, but you're gating them, right? You're gating them in the next step, right? And you, even online when you're selling, and we can talk about this too, but one-on-one selling, when do you pull the person in, right? That was like your question. When do you pull the person in to talk to them? I am doing multiple, I have probably 30 plus clients that are not in Houston. Okay. And so I've never met with them. I've never talked to them. I've just done a Google Hangouts or, you know, Uber conference or something with them where it is one-on-one. Okay.
Right.
I've never actually felt the need to go fly to see them. Now, if there's a conference there, like, does it make sense to go make a trip to meet them? Or, you know, can I send them something? Can I Amazon them something really easily, a gift basket or something like that? Can I write them a handwritten card? Can I send that? Do a lot of people do that, right? But can I talk to them on a one-on-one? So this is actually how I do a lot of my business, is through that. Even people in Houston, if they want to come into the office, they can, but it's actually more convenient for everybody to just, wherever they're at, jump on their phone, right? I've had a couple meetings on my phone where you can see people like this, like a Zoom call, right? Or something. And so, you know, I think that there's value in it. And I think you got to really identify what those target areas in and why you're doing that. I think that for me, when I've had those meetings, if I haven't outlined effectively what I wanted to accomplish and why I'm having that meeting, and if I can't answer those questions, the answer should really be no. Okay. And I've had to say that, hey, why don't we set up a call first? And people are like, well, I said, well, why don't we set up a call first? But also, how I do business is I'm looking at a website, so we can do a screen share. We can look at the website together. There's actually more things I can do with you. And really what I would do is I'll just sit down here with you and we would do it on the computer anyway, right? And so the travel aspect of it, I think, decreases efficiency. Now, if you are traveling, you're listening to books on tape and stuff like that, I think you can insert value there. But as an outside sales rep, I mean, I was a pharma rep for a number of years. It did quite well. And I mean, my goal was 10 people a day, talking to 10 people a day.
10 clients a day.
Well, not even talking to them, like just going to 10 offices a day. You know, like, how effective is that in moving the needle forward, right? Like, how really effective is that if it's not a planned meeting, a planned call, a scheduled, there's an outline, all those sort of things. And so, you know, again, I'm going to take the other side of it and say, I think that there's tons of value in meeting with people. And that's why I actually came here. I wanted to meet y'all in person. But does it have to happen? I don't think it necessarily does. You know what I mean? And I think when I was a pharma rep, I got to a relationship with doctors where they would call me on their cell phone, and we could talk about it. And that was before all the internet and kind of screen shares and all that. Yeah. But I think that it helps in building trust. Okay. I think it helps in trust building. When you meet with somebody, there's data that shows if you break bread with somebody, if you eat with somebody, there's a level of trust that's increased. And so I think too, a lot of people want to meet because once you have that face-to-face relationship, it's harder for someone to say no to you. Okay. Potentially. But I think it's all about establishing authority, establishing trust, establishing why you want to work with somebody or why you want to do business with somebody. And I think if you establish that solidly up front, that takes away the needing for the meeting. So I think the answer to your question is it depends on what you're trying to achieve. And do you have to meet with them to achieve whatever that is. Can you do that in other ways? If you can, it might be more cost effective.
So from what I'm hearing from you, Matt, is that if you have basically you have an agenda set of some sort, right? You know kind of what you want to achieve. You know, and you got to kind of like tick off a couple boxes to understand, you know, this is all mentally done. It sounds, if I'm hearing you correctly, that, all right, if I can check off these things, then I know that that's going to be a time well spent for me.
Yeah. I think time, well, it's, the value of time, like people that put a value on time is really what I look for. I can tell you too, I'll talk to a client and we'll have set aside 30 minutes. And if they're late on the call, or if they go over on time, like they're saying, one, they're not respecting my time. Right. And then they're saying, two, they don't respect their time. And so how hard is that person then going to be to make a decision? And so as a salesperson, I think you're professionally helping someone buy. You gotta take charge if you know it's what they need, to walk them through the steps to make the decision, to help them get what they need if what you're offering is truly helpful to them, right? Because those type of people, you kind of put them in buckets of, oh, I'm dealing like the DISC profile. You're familiar with like the DISC profile at all?
Yes.
So you can't deal with everybody the same, you know what I mean? Right. And I think some people do need that relationship, that contact. And then other people just need the facts, right? And then some people want all the data. I think that the answer in a lot of cases to a lot of questions are it's situational and it just depends. But I think that there's a lot of ways with the internet today that you can remove the face-to-face, just like we're doing here right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was just say it's a great response. I mean, especially, so I launched my consulting company a few months ago, and especially as an entrepreneur, unless you have, you know, a ton of venture capital money or whatever, but when you get in the car and you drive across town for one meeting, you lose half the day.
Right.
When with LinkedIn, you could reach out to, you know, 100, 200 people in that time frame. But yeah, like you're saying, it boils down to how you do that. I've been following Mario with Vingresso. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Martinez.
Yeah. He puts out a lot of good content around that, and he's talked about like the old-fashioned sales. It was a post yesterday about how like the old-fashioned way with sales professionals just basically spray information at people, but you can't do that with social media or LinkedIn, or because it's so you can analyze everything right in front of you. And I mean, it really has to be about them and not about you. So it's almost like you have to take your sales game to a whole nother level to be successful.
Well, so you know where I am in my sales process, and we can go back to where you might be, and I can give you some recommended like best practices or areas that I would move forward with in your position. I think I'll give those to you first, but I would really start picking a niche. Okay, I would not small business owners, not like these broad buckets. Okay, small business owners is not a niche. Like chiropractors like are a niche, like lawyers are a niche, or plumbers are a niche, carpet cleaning companies. That's a niche, because think about it. Once you figure out what your exact target market is, your marketing becomes really easy to figure out where you need to spend your money. If you're only going after carpet cleaning companies, there's probably one or two magazines you need to advertise in, and that's it, right? And also like a focus beam of light attracts more moss. So, you know, if everybody knows you're the carpet cleaning guy, when they run into somebody that needs a carpet cleaning thing, you can help them, or, you know what I mean? Like whatever your specialties are, pick one thing, and that's how you're going to grow the fastest, is if you niche down off the niche and really, really specialize in one thing. Like I want to be known for SEO. Okay. I mean, we do great web design, really enjoying like the email automation that we're implementing and doing. But when I say I'm a full service marketing agency, what does that really mean? But it's like, hey, do you want to be not first page on Google? You want to be first position on Google? Hey, give me a call and I'll build a strategy for you that will make that work. Or if you need social media marketing, be the social media marketing guy. And then, you know what conferences to go to, you know who you need to talk to, and you know other people can help refer you that business, if that makes sense, right? And so that's the recommendation I would say for you. I think where I'm at is I've generated all these additional assets in inbound marketing. We can talk about that in a minute, but I'm to the place right now that I'm losing my voice because I'm on the phone all day, 15-minute, 30-minute blocks with new so I'll call them prospects, but you got like suspects, right? Of somebody that could be a client, right? And then you got somebody that's a prospect that you think, right, has raised their hand. And then you got like a qualified lead, right? So you got to put the people in the different buckets, and we ought to all use the same terminology. But I'm in the place right now that I've hired somebody to schedule meetings for me because I don't have time to talk to everybody. They typically pay before I get on the phone and talk to them, right? And so I know that they're serious. And so what I'm starting to do is add more forms to the form. Like, so if you want more leads, have less forms, have one form, email address, phone number, whatever, right? The more forms you add, so first name, last name, combine those forms, right? So you want as minimum forms as possible, but if you're generating too many leads, like so some construction clients we have, too many leads, some lawyer clients, too many leads we have, they need to vet qualified leads. We add forms or drop down boxes to find that. I actually have some hair salon clients that need to kind of vet that as well, of what someone's asking for, and kind of drop them in the bucket. So you do a whole marketing strategy on the one to generate a ton of inbound traffic, and then you need to do another funnel on the other end to filter that traffic, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. Yes,
yeah. Well, I don't know how we're doing on time, Jerry, but I'd like to kind of switch focus over to your podcast and your book, and basically, can you share with us kind of how your podcast has evolved and bringing value to your audience that you're trying to market to, so that they can, pick up, I don't know what your end game is picking up the phone, emailing you, what have you, and then also talk a little bit about how you've also added some more value with your book.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at your sales process or you build your sales process, what a lot of people do is they put prospecting on the front end of their sales process, right? And so I don't know whether that's cold calling, sending direct mail, spamming people with emails. I can tell you, that's kind of how I started. I did it.
That's how many start.
These were permission-based lists. Okay, these were permission-based lists. I talk about it a little bit in my book. I built a recruiting firm before I did this, and recruiting is super old school. Like, it's pick up the phone book, like call companies, get them to
smile and dial,
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, really. So I, I've had experience in outside selling, inside selling, and then internet marketing or internet selling, and they're all different. They're different techniques. And like when I was really good at outside sales and then I got on the phone, people would just hang up on me. Okay. Like the way I had to learn how to interact on that platform. And I think that that's the same for every platform. And I think that, depending on your business model, to kind of go back to one thing that you mentioned, Gary, that I want to hit on, is talking about when to pick up the phone or talk to somebody or to drive to meet them. And I think it does kill your whole day. Okay. But remember, they used to run like a little ad in the newspaper, and it was to call a 1-800 number to listen to a 30-minute recorded sales pitch where you didn't actually have to talk to a salesperson, where there wasn't that much pressure, right?
Yep.
That's what maybe a recorded webinar or like a video sales letter is, right? So you could send somebody to a page where you've recorded a pitch to them. And that's why also when we're talking about long form sales letter, when you get those sales letters in the mail, that's a salesperson. And the reason the articles are so long, or 10 or 20 pages, is they're trying to answer every objection that you might have in there. And if you're a qualified customer, you're going to keep reading because you want to have enough information to finally make a decision to buy. Okay. But kind of going back to the podcast, the podcast is just something that we add in front of the free consultation, right? And so we put a dollar value on the free consultation based on hourly bill rate. So that's actually, the consultation is actually worth $150. And free consultations have been overdone because people aren't really seeing value in it, right? And how you're doing the consultation or what you're doing. So a free consultation, now when you look at the internet marketing side of things, it's like, hey, 2 hours with someone that can answer my questions and get something done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a value. Or, hey, 30 minutes with somebody that can actually answer a question I'm trying to deal with right now. Like, there's got to be some kind of value associated with that. And if you're the person that's providing it, you need to put a dollar value on what this is worth to them or worth their time. I'm also a big believer of adding value versus giving discounts. Like, discounts just a race to the bottom.
Right.
But adding more stuff to it at your price point is where I think this price is what you want. But if there's not enough value in someone's eyes, keep piling on the value, but don't change the price or dilute like your cost. But to answer the question, sorry, I kind of go off on tangents, but the podcast is something that is attached in front of the phone call. Now in our podcast, and we're providing a ton of value, and then we're seeking reciprocation. Hey, if you have a question, please give us a call. Hey, if you have somebody that's in need of internet marketing, please please refer them to us.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a good referral program, and people are generating some good income, and that's across the US. But we're providing something of value, and we're showing you we know what we're talking about. So SEO, a lot of times a black box, or people have bad experience. We also bring up testimonials. Did you know a testimonial to somebody typically compares a testimonial? 84% of the time, people compare a testimonial to a referral from a personal friend. Right. So testimonials are powerful. You see it on Amazon with reviews. You see it on Google reviews. We encourage people, hey, why don't you go check out our reviews, take a look at what people are saying, and then give us a call back.
Sure.
Right. Why don't you go listen to the podcast, understand what we're talking about, see if anything resonates with you, and then give us a call back. And so we've built some digital assets out there that I believe are providing a ton of value, and people see the value in it. So if I can show someone a value, and then it's relatable to what they're doing, then on the other hand, they're less hesitant to move forward with me. And also, like, if I'm going to put together a big proposal of thousands of dollars, let's get started. Let's get to know each other on like a lighter level, like an ascension ladder or customer journey. Let's start with a couple $100 and see how we do. And also, I'm providing a money back guarantee. So I'm saying, hey, why don't you spend this money? But guess what? If you're unhappy, you don't feel like you got any value, I'll give you your money back, right? And that if people are not going to spend that, they're not going to spend this. And also, if someone's going to charge back on you for this, do you really want them to be a client that you do thousands of dollars of work for? And then so it's a really good weeding out process. And I can actually tell you, no one's ever charged back on me on that. And we've never had to provide money back. Now, there's been 2 people that have over the last, say, year and a half that I know of. One person actually came back and bought full services. The other person, same thing, wasn't ready to go now, didn't understand kind of our process, and said that they're going to work with us again. So, if you have something of value, don't feel afraid to offer a unique selling proposition or something that some kind of guarantee that will allow them to move forward risk-free. Mm-hmm. So really you want the frictionless people moving forward frictionlessly through your process. Also, like kind of what you said, meeting them face-to-face, I think that comes down to FaceTime. I've seen basically it takes about 7 hours. If you spend 7 hours with a prospect, you'll typically close them, and that's on all kind of formats. And it doesn't matter what it is. So if you've been engaging with the customer for, say, a 30-minute or hour meeting, and I've had a 15-minute call, a 2-hour call, and then another 30-minute call with them, and they've maybe watched 5 podcasts, I hit that magic 7-hour number that they know who I am, and they're more willing to work with me. than maybe somebody else that they've had less engagement with. So I think that the face-to-face is important, but I think it's really exposure to who you are, your brand, your services. It is really what you're looking at. And you can do that a number of ways of recording a video, send it to them, email them, watching it, or whatever. So the podcast, we talk about digital selling, not like digital selling like this, more like you're a client and you need to get your website to rank. Here are some tips to do that. Here's a landing page. Here's how to optimize it. Like, we did one today, actually. We did one this morning, and we're talking about, those buy buttons or buy now buttons and different colors and stuff like that. The article suggested, why don't you use the word continue? Okay. Like, why don't you take the next step? Buy is like a big commitment. Like, I'm not ready to buy this, but that's not what the button maybe means. It might be learn more, continue, move forward. It becomes less, or like hardcore selling to somebody. And really, I believe if you've done your job correctly, people are going to ask you how to buy. I think also when you're networking, I don't actually give out my business card to anybody unless they ask for it, right? Usually I'll tell them to go check me out online. But I'll have a business card. I don't have a lot of them, but I never give my business card out. If they ask me for one, they've seen value in what I'm offering, and I give it to them. And if you've done your job to create enough value and you have what they need, they'll call you back. Or guess what? If they don't call you back right away, they're not probably ready. They might call you back later on. But typically, if you do a good job communicating with somebody, you can always ask for the sale, and the sale is really, really smooth. It should be, if you feel uncomfortable asking for the sale, you haven't done good enough job asking enough questions, uncovering enough needs, understanding the objections for them to move forward. But when you do that, I feel like the selling becomes super, super straightforward. And so, yeah, the podcast is just a way to let people understand our personality, how we work. I mean, it's called punch in the face marketing. I'm pretty blunt, right? And like, if someone doesn't like how I'm communicating, then they're not going to want to do business with me. And if they don't like how I'm communicating, I'm probably not going to want to do business with them. And so it's better that they make that decision before they call.
So it helps you qualify the customers in a way.
Yeah. So here's another statistic. I hate to throw so many statistics at you, but 85% of people, and these are older studies from 2015 and stuff that I'm referencing, but still, I think that there's value in the data, is 85% of people make their decision on what they're going to buy before they pick up the phone to call you. And if you look at websites today, how many people are explaining their process, their services, what's going on? They're using it as a digital brochure, and they're not really selling their company. And so people have all these questions. They're like, oh, well, they'll call in and like, we'll answer all their questions. Well, will someone answer the phone? Okay, that also is a lot of friction to have someone pick up the phone to call you. That's a big commitment and step. Get somebody on the phone. Are the people that you have answering the phone going to read your script? Do you have a script? Like, is it going to be effective to convert them? Like, so there's a lot of questions that people ask, or people say, hey, the sales process starts when they call me. I would move that, that goal line quite a bit further forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We want to respect your time here. I know we're running a little bit over. Does Brand Mania, that's your book, right? Brand Mania?
Build Your Brand Mania. Yeah,
Build Your Brand Mania. And that'll cover the different platforms and how to interact with the different platforms and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so Build Your Brand Mania is really about how to build yourself as a brand online. And I do think it fits into the model of people running consulting businesses. So I think that there's some value in it. And really what it talks about is one, some of the stuff we talked about now, and some of the kind of my philosophy. Okay, I'll just say, like, it's how I view the world. So it goes into my background of how I kind of got here. So so you understand who I am a little bit more.
Right.
And then it goes into the concepts behind trust, authority, expertise, what the difference between expert and authority is, right? So authority is influence. you could be an expert in a lot of things, but if you don't have influence, you're not an authority, right? And if people don't trust you, and how do you build the trust and the science behind the trust? And there's a couple really cutting edge scientific strategies that are starting to be implemented today. Like the review system is a shortcut process for all the research we used to do of things we used to buy. Now we just look at how many Amazon reviews, look at the best, worst, and we make the decision because we're moving at this such rapid pace. Heuretics, I believe that's what it's called, heuretics, the study of heuretics. So I'm addressing a couple of these different concepts that really tie into sales, really tie into influence, really tie into maybe being convincing, that sort of thing. So I set the foundation there, and then I start to break down what are the things that you need to do step by step to position yourself in a good place online. And then all the different kind of tools in the tool belt, whether it be email marketing, paid advertising, social media, PR, right? Getting on other podcasts, on news stations, that sort of thing. And how does it all go together? Because that was the thing for me that was really, really difficult. Is I got this guru over here saying this, I got these news articles on Entrepreneur Magazine saying this, I got this person at the conference saying that, and I'm going, these are all different aspects of the same pie, but where's the manual of like how all this stuff fits together? And that's a lot with SEO too, is SEO is this black box for a lot of people, but actually when you understand SEO and you understand how the Google search algorithm works, it actually becomes pretty benign and pretty straightforward of the things that you need to do, because engineers built it and engineers are pretty predictable. And you know, but you got to gain all this foundational knowledge to actually get to this level where now, oh, it just clicks for you and you understand it, right? And I think that digital selling or driving inbound marketing is very, very similar, that you got to kind of understand all these different parts and then how they fit together to understand how you want to structure your sales funnel. You know, I would love to kind of end on one thing if we have time. Do we have a few minutes here?
Sure.
So for the salespeople out there, and I think that this is really who your conference is speaking to based on some of your questions, I believe that digital marketing provides a really underpinning or support system to following up with leads. Okay. There's some really great email marketing softwares out there that you can do lead scoring. Okay, so if someone comes to the website, or they've watched a certain amount of a certain video, or they've clicked on a link in a certain email, to give them scores, okay, of what they're, and if they've been to your website twice in the last week or whatever, or day, they watched a number of videos, they've clicked on an email link that you sent them, that's probably somebody, even if they haven't reached out to you, that might be worth reaching out to, right? And so also email automation. So when I talk to somebody, or I meet them at a networking event or a conference or something like that, I send them one customized email, okay, that's related to how that is. And then I'll put them on a series of custom lists that have some automated sequences. One might be a nurture list that might be like an email newsletter or something like that. And then the other one might be a follow-up process to continue to build authority, or sharing some testimonials, or just kind of a check-in email or text message. You can actually add SMS to that to drive them to the next point in the funnel or the process. And so I'm actually doing some coaching right now for some real estate agents and some commercial brokers on how to follow up with their leads effectively and create those low risk touch points for the customers. Like, customers actually are pretty okay if you send them information that's valuable to them, where you're not calling them going, hey, do you need anything? Like, when they get the email, they understand what you do, and you're just kind of staying in front of them, sending them a thank you card, sending them a quick gift. You can actually automate a lot of this stuff. We have a 5 direct mail drip sequence that we just put a prospect on, and it will just run, right? And so if we're going off of another data, there's a good GIF out there that talks about a lot of data of like how many salespeople like stop after the first phone call, second phone call. Have y'all seen that? Third
yes.
phone call. And then it's like 8 phone call or 8 touch points is actually when someone really makes a commitment.
Right.
And everybody stops at 3, and that's even the good salespeople stop at 3. What are and why are we doing that, right? It's not because we're bad salespeople. It's bad because we're busy or we're focused on too many things. So how do we use technology to actually help us and create scalability in reaching out to prospects? You know, you got to spend some time on the front end building it and figuring out what you want to say and syncing it all up, but it's going to save you a ton of time with the follow-ups on the back end. So, you know, really salespeople should be leveraging email automation, whether it's through the company's CRM. So Salesforce does all kinds of awesome stuff.
Right.
There's a great email marketing tools. Or if you don't have that, MailChimp, Aweber, these are free things up to 2,000 contacts where it costs you nothing to build these automations and be following up with them. I mean, you can get more exotic with remarketing and bot marketing, but email marketing, emails is like foundational. And there's so many people that are not doing it. There's so many people that are not doing email marketing effectively. And email address is like someone's house. And I think direct mail is pretty effective being an internet marketing guy for especially B2B sales. I think direct mail, you can't beat it. But email addresses, if you're not going into spam, okay, and there's stuff you can do to talk about that. We have some stuff in the podcast about that. But if you are reaching them, they're reading those emails. They're reading those LinkedIn emails. So you set up and build some automation on LinkedIn. I guarantee you they're reading all the emails, because I've had people 6 months, a year later, after the automation's even stopped, reaching out to me, go, hey, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So you're having this one-way conversation with them, and you can build what you would say typically to prospects and have that one-way conversation with them, and know that when they're ready to buy, or you have something of value, or you've proven to them enough that you can help them, they're gonna respond and engage. And so, you know, there's ways to build that as a salesperson to really put rocket boosters on what you're currently doing and to automate things that you're doing over and over again and mail or like mailings and stuff like that. I can tell you, if you use Google or Google Suites, there's a Google Labs option. And I mean, have y'all used canned email responses?
Yes.
I mean,
Google. Yes.
I mean, it's, I can tell you, when I learned about that, there's also something called Rebump. Have you heard of Rebump? It's like $5 a month, and it'll just keep sending the same email over and over again until they respond. But you can use all these different tools and plugins and Chrome extensions to really increase the productivity in your life. I mean, the canned responses, having those templated emails, pulling it up, changing it, having all the links there, I feel like saves you so much time writing those emails, or even cutting and pasting them from like a Word document into it, you know? So.
Well, man, you know, I really appreciate you coming in and dropping all this knowledge on it. I know personally, one thing, you might already know this from doing your own podcast, that you learn something from every single guest that you bring on. I'm going to personally have to go back and watch this 2 or 3 times before I learn everything that you've said. And I know that there's a lot of value in there. I
appreciate that. Hopefully this was valuable. I was really trying to talk about things that I feel like your audience and y'all would be interested in, resonate with. But yeah, I think digital marketing and selling are, I mean, where does the line of marketing end and sales cross, right? Like it's like a Venn diagram.
It's kind of like you have to do both these days.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to get your book. Look forward to getting your book.
Exactly. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I know we went a little over the time limit, but you just you gave us a lot of gems over there, and we really appreciate that. So thank you so much for that. We're going to have the information about your podcast, and for the audience out there, we're going to have Matt's information down in the notes, in the show notes, including the book, where to get it. It's on Amazon, of course. It's an Amazon bestseller, along with the podcast. So with that, once again, everybody, thanks for joining us at 24 Floors Up. Matt, thank you once again. We really appreciate it. And until next time, have a great weekend, everyone.
All
All
right.
right, sounds good.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye.